Hi everyone, welcome to Future Ready Insights, the podcast where we explore the latest breakthroughs in technology, business strategies, and artificial intelligence. Each episode, we're diving into the trends shaping tomorrow's workforce and uncover actionable advice to help you stay ahead in a rapidly changing world. So whether you're a business leader, a tech enthusiast, or just curious about what next, we're here to guide you through the innovations, challenges, and opportunities that define the future. And if you just discovered us, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us. So just take a second out just to do that now. Thanks very much. So we're going to start with our top headlines of the week and finish with 4 actionable pieces of advice that you can use in your organization. Quite a lot to talk about this week. So first up, multiple AI models available in Perplexity and a discussion about why this matters. I discovered this just by accident this week. Perplexity now gives users access to multiple advanced AI models, including Claude, GPT-4, Mistral, and Gemini within one interface. So why is this such a big deal? Well, it signals a future where we just don't rely on just one AI system. So instead, we can compare, combine, or select the models based on their strengths. So think of it like having multiple expert advisors all at once, all just standing in front of you. I think it's a really good, neat idea. You'll see from the screen if you're watching this on YouTube that you can just choose the model that you want it to use. So you're just using Perplexity just as the initial sort of base, the user interface, and then you just choose the model that you want, or you can compare the results. I think it's such a great idea. And kind of this initiative reflects the growing demand for AI transparency and choice. This whole approach could reshape how professionals research and validate their insights and make decisions using AI. I know for one myself that I do dabble between the different platforms and I have got preferences. I do prefer Claude AI for some of the results from an academic viewpoint, but also I have used Perplexity in the last couple of weeks just as a change from ChatGPT, and I was really impressed with some of the results I was getting back from that. So I think it really does pay to start using some of the different models. If you're an average user or regular user of just one of the models, then I think it's really interesting that you should try to use some of the other models to see what type of different results that you might get back. So on to our next story. OpenAI, they've launched the ChatGPT image generator. This has been everywhere this week, and OpenAI has rolled out an image generation feature directly inside ChatGPT, powered by DALL-E 3. So users now can create images just by typing in a description and even edit parts of the image by interacting with it. Somebody has actually been able to remove watermarks from images. So this is going to be great for people working in marketing, product design, education. You could ask it to create sort of process maps, diagrams, and the results are really fantastic. That we're kind of moving away from these really dystopian styles of AI images that we've seen sort of in the last year or so to something much more polished, much more professional. I had a go this week. I was quite impressed with what it kind of created. But again, you really do need to spend some time about understanding how kind of the prompts work, refining what you're asking for, being quite specific, and spending some time manipulate some of the results that it initially comes up with to end up with something quite polished. For me, I still think we're on the right path, but there's a lot more things that, for instance, that I could do in Canva, like quickly editing text. If you're using this for a client, they may well want certain amends and certain things removed here, there, and everywhere. And I still think that's quite tricky to do within this model to get things specifically right. But we're definitely leaps and bounds ahead of where we were 18 months ago. So this kind of door opening now allows us to sort of be prototyping, create new ideas in terms of visuals, and more dynamic content generation. Obviously with Sora as well, with the video generator in the background. You don't need design skills, it's just your imagination. So this is great. There's another step forward, making AI creative tools part of your everyday workflow. So definitely give that a try if you're on the OpenAI platform. Next up, this story didn't make last week, but it's a really interesting one. This is about AI predicting the weather and Project Aardvark. It was a story I'd seen in The Guardian, and it's a new AI system from Google DeepMind called Aardvark. And it predicts the weather with surprising accuracy, and it beats traditional meteorological models in most cases. So why does this really matter? Have we not got enough good predictions already with the systems that we use? Well, in terms of global warming, weather is affecting everything from agriculture, energy, disaster planning, logistics. So what this is doing is give us much more refined, specific, detailed forecasting. It can learn from huge data sets, with this coming from sort of satellites, or other databases to generate hyperlocal short-term predictions in matter of seconds. So it's a really great real-world example of how AI isn't just automating tasks. Do check that story out. It's really fascinating. So I mentioned this earlier on. Claude can now search the web. If you've not heard of Claude, it's one of the large language models like Gemini from Google, or OpenAI ChatGPT. And up till kind of fairly recently, it was kind of limited because it wasn't able to access the internet for real-time results. But it joins a list of the other models like Perplexity and ChatGPT with internet access now. It's overdue, and it'd be interesting to see if this is going to help it catch up in the large language model race, see the results that it comes up with, and whether we have the same type of issues around hallucinations, bias that we do with some of the other large language models. Only just today, while I was using ChatGPT to research the stories for this podcast, the amount of links it was making up that wasn't true was crazy. So I think there's still a lot more work that needs to be done. So with AI, please do check your results, because they may well sound very convincing, but you really do need to check them to make sure they are true. And this next story is really interesting. Perplexity buying TikTok. If you've not seen this story, I caught this one at the beginning of the week, and there is a rumor going around that Perplexity AI is in talk to buy TikTok. It's not that new. And when you actually read the news story, they apparently put a bid in beforehand. And this was all about, I think, late last year and earlier this year, before the change of presidency in the US, that ByteDance, the owners of TikTok, had to put the US arm of TikTok up for sale, or to have a new partner. And Perplexity had expressed interest at that time. ByteDance now has until April the 5th to find a US buyer for the US arm of TikTok. This is why this story is kind of going around the circles again. But I think the great thing about this story is that what they want to do with it, and they want to turn TikTok into the most trusted and neutral platform in the world. So that's a really bold statement to make in social media, because none of the platforms are really neutral in any result. Because if you think about all the different types of stories that are on there in terms of this whole debate about freedom of speech, and there's no kind of neutrality really kind of there. They want to make it open source, so that will be interesting to see how that could work. I think there's some really big questions here, but the intention sounds really positive. So it'll be an interesting story to see over the next couple of weeks of what actually happens here with ByteDance. It's interesting to see, and the reason why they want to do it is because their social media platforms are so big, vast and rich with data. They've got a lot of video. They're making them ideal platforms for more search, discovery, and influence. So yeah, they're going to be training their models effectively. It's a great story to watch and see what happens. We could do with a bit more neutrality in the world right now. So this may be a really good thing. So let us know what your thoughts are about that story and whether it'll actually happen or not. Last up, it's an extra story this week. This story made the podcast at the last few seconds. Microsoft has unveiled security Copilot agents. We talked about cyber security last week, and I want to squeeze this story in. These agents are AI tools that automatically detect, investigate, even respond to cyber security threats. So this is huge. So because instead of reacting to breaches after the damage is done, these agents are proactively working to prevent some of these breaches. They integrate directly into Microsoft's security ecosystem and can manage complex incidents at machine speed. This is what they're saying. So for companies, this means fewer data breaches, faster threat response, and less pressure on human IT teams. So this all sounds, absolutely amazing, and it's pretty much what we need right now. So there's lots of things happening behind the scenes with data breaches, DDoS happening, lots of different servers, lots of attacks happening that we perhaps need some help from technology now to kind of keep our systems much more secure and stable. But is it a case of AI now becoming an essential teammate in high-risk business functions, replacing people? And I think that it is. This is probably the way it needs to come. But the worry for me is that whether then some of these AI robots or co-pilots or agents, whatever we want to call them, if you could turn one of those and make it from a good agent into a bad agent, think of the damage they could do. So there's a lot of potential here, but there's some other questions as well if we rely too much on this. So it'd be interesting to see how they're managed. If you like the podcast so far, just a reminder, please take a second to like and subscribe. It really, really helps us. So thank you if you've already done that. So in the last part of the podcast, we're now moving on to actionable insights for businesses. So this is the part of the show where we talk about real tips and guidance in business and tech areas that you can use in your role and organization. So first up, business analysis, get comfortable with uncertainty. So in today's fast-paced world, we know that requirements change quickly, requirements from our organizations or from our clients. So the best business analysts don't just tolerate uncertainty, they kind of plan for it. So using techniques like Moscow. So if you don't know what Moscow is, in the note, I'll put some links in the show notes below. Moscow is a prioritization to distinguish between what a solution must have versus what it could have. This allows you to adapt quickly without losing sight of the project's core goals. So I've used this week actually. So when somebody was saying, well, how do I move forward with this project? I was like, well, you need to prioritize and look at what you must have in your project, what you should have, and then like things that you'd like to have. So this kind of like red, amber, green approach. So Moscow approach is a really good one to use. Next up, AI, quality prompts equal quality outputs. We've talked about this before, but this looks at prompt engineering. I've mentioned this earlier on in the story. So with generative AI tools like ChatGPT and image generators that we mentioned, your results are only as good as your prompt. So learning prompt engineering, which is how to structure your inputs clearly and effectively, can make a really huge difference. Whether you're generating a report or designing a customer journey, try using few shot examples of chain of thought prompts to guide the AI. It's not just what you ask, it's how you ask it. You could probably even type it into the large language module to teach me about prompt engineering. You can go and do a course on it if you want to. You can go and read a book. I think on Threads this week, there's loads of social media posts with all creative prompts that you use. So you can get this stuff for free. But I would say to start with the large language model and ask it how you should approach prompt engineering. It'd be interesting to see what results you get. Let us know if you do try that out, actually. Data protection, baking privacy from day one. I like this tip. Data protection shouldn't be an afterthought. So following the privacy by design and by default approach, which is outlined in the UK GDPR, Article 25. And this means considering data protection right at the planning stage of any project, system, or product. So ask early, what personal data will we use? How will we protect it? This proactive strategy will build trust, reduce risk, and keep your business compliant from the start. It's a really good tip. A lot of people just dive straight into the project and kind of ask these questions later, if they ask them at all. But asking some of these real important questions up front, it kind of like shapes the project, making sure that it not only does what we want it to do, but also kind of protects the organization and the people involved in the project as well. So it's a really good tip. And last up, IT leadership. Culture Eats Strategy for Breakfast. It's an odd title, this, but I really want to talk about it because you can have the best tools, but if your team's culture isn't right, change won't stick. So great IT leaders focus not just on delivery, but on shaping a culture of collaboration, innovation, and psychological safety. So what I would suggest is encourage experimentation, reward learning from mistakes, and lead with empathy. We're missing a lot of this right now when we've got all this amazing technology around us. We want to get everything perfect. But it's sometimes, let's just try stuff. Let's just experiment. Let's see what happens. As long as it's safe and it's controlled, we're not going too wild, then what's to lose apart from just from your time? So when people feel safe and supported, they'll follow your lead through any transformation, but you have to give them the opportunity to do stuff. If you found all this advice helpful or just parts of it, you might be interested to learn more in our accredited courses in these subjects on our website at ducadigitaltraining.com. Do have a look. But that's it for this week. It's a longer podcast than normal, but I hope you really enjoyed this episode. Some great talking points here. Please like and subscribe. It takes a few seconds and really helps us reach more people. Do let me know your comments and thoughts about any of the headlines and insights that we've talked about. You can even email me, futurereadyinsights@ducodigital.com. Thanks very much and have a great week ahead.